Hey everyone, it's Paul Stevens here with iGo Sales and Marketing with another SuiteCRM development tutorial. So today is the third in the series of API usage for SuiteCRM. Today we are going to do a sort of real-world example tutorial. We are going to use the version 8 API. So again, not to be confused with SuiteCRM version 8, even though we are using SuiteCRM version 8. There are three different APIs. There's the 4.1, there's the version 8, and there's the GraphQL. Right now, today, we are using version 8. Okay, so we have a real-world example here, and it's probably best if I just go through this here and explain it to you, what we're going to do, and you may use this for yourself and improve upon it and use it for your own needs, but here's what we're going to do. So basically, we want to, when a new user in WordPress is added, we want to push that new user to SuiteCRM as a lead. Okay, so this could be a new WooCommerce customer, this could be a new subscriber, and then we want to assign the lead source as website, and then we want to automate adding this new user to our, let's say, newsletter campaign. Okay, so in order to make this happen, when a new user registers, we want to be able to get their ID. Okay, so I had a little bit of complication with this. I was trying to use the user registration hook to push the lead to SuiteCRM, but the problem was that when the user registration happens, not all of the metadata for the user is saved yet. So I didn't get things like, you know, the company name and the first name and the last name. So what I had to do is kind of do it in a two-step process. So when the user registration happens, I'm going to get what the SuiteCRM WordPress user ID is. Then I'm going to have a different process where I go when the lead is the user is actually saved. Then I'm going to go and get the information I need and then send the hook to SuiteCRM. Okay, so that's the two-step process. I have a blog here that explains everything in detail. I'll put a link to that below. So please visit my blog and also like and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you find this helpful. It really helps me get more exposure on my videos, and it helps me make more content. So please do so. All right, so let's have a look at the code I set up here. Okay, so I'm also going to put this code as a plugin. I set it up as a plugin just to make it easier to be portable, but I'll put it down below my blog if you want to download the plugin and install it and play around with it and modify it for your own use. Go ahead. So what I have here is the first thing I started with just a simple API call, but I built it out a little bit just to make it a little more useful. So the first thing I did was I added an admin page here, and then in the admin page we are going to add all the fields that we need, like the SuiteCRM URL, the client ID, the client secret, the password, and the username. And then I also found it useful to add some functionality that when you actually save it, it checks to make sure it's valid and gets a valid response from SuiteCRM. And then I also added a button where you can test the connection. Okay, so what does that look like? So here's the admin page. Okay, so in the settings here, I added a SuiteCRM API, and you can put your information here, and when you save the changes, it will tell you whether it's valid or not. You can also test the authentication, and it will tell you that the authentication was successful. Okay, so the reason for that is if you're troubleshooting, trying to figure out if it's not working, one of the things is, did it work in the first place, right? So that makes things a little bit easier. Okay, so that's all that does, is it just creates those fields and stores the information. And then here is the HTML of the actual page, admin page, you know, the SuiteCRM URL, client ID, the client secret, username and password, okay? And the 2 buttons. And that just makes the whole thing helpful. So let's get into the SuiteCRM stuff. These functions here just have to do with the 2 buttons to check on save. You want to check whether you actually got an access token or not. And then the authentication status button, if you got the auth or not, and if yes, it'll say you did, and if not, it'll say you failed. Okay. So here's the actual access token request. Okay, so we are going to have the URL being the SuiteCRM URL that we got in WordPress. Okay, in the form that we filled in. This part here is important. Make sure if you're using SuiteCRM 8, it has legacy. Okay, and if you're using SuiteCRM 7, it's just API. Okay, so the reason is it's just in SuiteCRM 8 they've sort of moved all the old stuff into legacy, and the API stuff you'll find under legacy. Okay, if you don't have that URL correct, obviously it's not going to work properly depending on the version you're using. Okay, so the body of our request, in this case we're just going to do a password grant. I think in the last tutorial we did a token access token grant. But in this case, we're just going to do a password grant. So we need the client ID, which we're going to get from the field in WordPress, client secret that we're going to get from WordPress, and the username and the password. So if you don't know how to set up the version 2 API client secret and password on the SuiteCRM side, take a look at my last video. We went through that in a little more detail. I'm not going to do that today, but you can look at the last video and set that up. So you need your client ID and secret. Okay. We are going to use WP remote post. Okay, so that's a function in WordPress to actually send the request out to the URL that we created up here with the body that we created up here. Okay, and of course if it's an error, it's going to say the request failed. Otherwise, it's going to decode and keep the access token. Okay. So the next function we need here is, I kind of added this in at the last minute, and this might have been a good idea to add into my admin page, but it's already more complicated than I wanted this tutorial to be, so I just put it in as 2 lines of code. Basically, what we want to do is, like, if you add a new admin user to WordPress, obviously you don't want to push that over as a lead, and there may be other roles that you don't want to push over as a lead, like maybe you added a new author or something. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we are going to add a subscriber and a customer as the 2 roles that we will want to push new leads over to SuiteCRM. If you want to add more, you can just add a comma and put the role names there. Okay, and then we just have we are going to store the user ID after the registration happens. Okay, and we're going to store it for 60 seconds, and we're going to store it as a transient. So we use the WordPress function here, set transient, and we're going to keep it for 60 seconds. And then step 2 is after the user gets registered, there's like a second step that updates the profile. So this is where I had the issue. I was trying to use the user register hook to get the information I needed, but unfortunately it's not available in that hook yet until the user is actually saved. So that's why I need the second part. So when the profile update happens, we're going to run the sync to new user. So the first thing it's going to do is it's going to check if the user that just got updated is the same as the user ID that we just stored. in which case it will continue. Otherwise, it's going to not do anything. Okay, so if you just go in and update some other user, you don't obviously want to keep pushing them to SuiteCRM. So that's what handles that. The other thing that we want to do is check to make sure that the user is in the role that we allowed, okay? And if so, then we're going to continue. Otherwise, we're not going to do it, okay? So here's where we check that we have a token, okay? If we have a token, great. If not, we're going to error out that user authentication failed. Okay, so our post URL that we're going to construct to send this is here, okay? And again, remember, legacy for version 8 SuiteCRM, and no legacy if it's version 7. So our lead data is going to be data, type, leads. Our attributes are going to be first name, and we're going to get the user meta from the user ID that we stored, okay? And we're going to get first name, okay? So, and if there is no first name, we're going to just store unknown, okay? Same thing with last name, and if there's no last name, we're going to store the user login. We're going to get the email address, the work phone. So this comes from WooCommerce, billing phone and billing company. So if you don't have WooCommerce installed, you may want to just comment these two out because they won't be available, okay? But in my case, I do have WooCommerce installed, so I'm going to populate those fields. Okay, and then I'm just going to like hard code that the lead source was the website, and the lead status is new, and the assigned user is going to be 1, which is me, and so the lead gets assigned properly, but you can assign it to whoever you like. Okay, so again, we are going to use WP Remote Post to send this out, and we're going to send it to the URL that the post URL that we created, and we're going to send the headers and the body and all the rest of the stuff. And if we get back an error, we're going to log the error. Okay, so that's basically how the code works. So let's just go through a few things on the front end here and check this out. Okay, so I did a couple things here to make my life a little bit easier. So this will work with the default WordPress subscribe, but what I did instead, it makes life a little bit easier, is I have a Gravity form here, and I have one of the Gravity form plugins installed, which is the user registration plugin. So basically when this form is filled out, a new user gets added. Anyway, you don't have to use this. I just like this. It makes it a lot cleaner than trying to use the WordPress default login and password kind of thing, right? So so we'll go Paul 123 here, Stevens 123, and we'll go Paul 123 at iGoKitting.com. Hopefully I spelled that right. I often don't. Kitting. Okay, yeah. Okay, 111, 111, 1111. Okay. Username. Okay. I'm just going to submit that. Okay, so my form got submitted. In WordPress, there's a second step where the user gets emailed a email and they have to confirm it. So in the Gravity Forms plugin, there's actually, you can just kind of force that to happen here. So now I'm going to activate this user. Say OK. And if I go and check my WordPress users, okay, I'm going to see that here is my Paul Stevens 123 that I just created as a subscriber, and they are there, okay? And so now if I go to my SuiteCRM, fingers crossed here, we should have a new lead. And there we go. So you can see we got first name, last name, we got the office phone, we got the account name, we got the email address and lead source website, and it's assigned to me. Okay, so everything worked out great there. So the next step that happens is in this process here is I've created a workflow. And let me just make this active here. Okay, so this is going to run in the scheduler and add the person to the target list. So let's just have a look at this here. So basically, I am going to run it on leads. I'm only going to run it in the scheduler. I'm going to run it on all records. I could run it just on new records, I guess, but either way. So I'm saying leads that were created after January 1st because I don't want to go back in time if I have any other new leads in the system. I just want the new leads, right? So where leads are equal to new, and the lead source is equal to the website because that's how we populated it, new and website. We want to take an action. We want to modify the record. We are going to add a relationship, which is target lists, prospect lists, and the value, we're going to select a target list that we've already created. So I created a target list for newsletter subscribers. Okay. So I'm not sure if my job will have run yet. Yes, it did. So you can see it ran on the record that I added. Okay. So this record is now added to my target list. So if I go to target lists here, and I go to my newsletter subscribers, and where's my leads? Okay, you'll see I now have that lead that's added to the target list. And if I go to my campaign, for newsletter subscription, you'll see that that target list is in the campaign. So by default, those subscribers of the target list will be in the campaign. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so that's the whole thing there. So that could be useful if you run like a WooCommerce store and you want to make sure that you add your new customers to a mailing list. That's exactly how you would do it. Okay, so that concludes the tutorial for today. Next time we are going to explore the GraphQL API. So please stay tuned. Watch my other videos on SuiteCRM version 4 as well. Sometimes that's useful. And like and subscribe. And as always, I do this for a living. If you need some help with SuiteCRM, my background is really sales, and I learned to code because I use SuiteCRM all the time. But if you need help with your sales process, making sure your sales process works in SuiteCRM and customizing SuiteCRM, either through Studio or through custom code, I can definitely help you with that. My contact information is below, and thank you so much for watching.